Carl and Lou here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And it's track by track time as we are taking a look at, I'm going to try and say it correctly, Mareridt? Mareridt? I think it's something like that. I'm probably putting too much emphasis on the DT at the end.
Yeah.
But it's Mareridt, we can see it in the title, by Myrkur, the black metal project of the Danish musician and singer-songwriter Amelie Brrraains. The actual album title is Danish for Nightmare. And the album was released on the 15th of September 2017 through Relapse Records. So fairly up-to-date one. And I know who this artist is. I know this band. I know this project. And part of that comes from because for a very brief period, like the mainstream metal press often does, they grabbed onto this person, this band, this artist, and went, next big thing, for about 6 months, and then dropped them and went to the next bit, you know, that old thing they always do. So that's why I remember this artist in particular. Truth be told, though, I was never sold. Heard it, and maybe it's because I've heard music like this before. I was like, okay, no, it's cool as shit. So I don't think I ever really gave a full album a chance. This is certainly the first time I've listened to this album in full. However, you know, it is an excellent piece of work. Of course it's an excellent piece of work. This kind of music works quite nicely for me, to some degree. Yeah.
I think I just sort of suggested it because it always just
different.
sits there. Yeah, it always just sits there, and you know, my feelings on sometimes on like female vocals, like some of the more operatic stuff. I'm not a huge fan of. Like I listen to, don't swear about that. I can listen to a little bit, but overall it doesn't really. I prefer a range of vocals. So I like the grittier side. I like the harsher side to the sort of the prettier end, which I feel like this covers quite a nice range. So I find it more interesting. Don't swear, it's not that. Right.
Well, now that you've got your rampant sexism out of the way.
Oh my god.
Only joking. We'll wind you up. We'll wind her up about this
every
off camera. Yes. Okay, right. The track by track part. Let's start then with the title track. Haunting. The bloody word is haunting. The rumble of atmosphere and the high-pitched wailing at the start is something else. It lays the drama on thickly with almost all the focus being on the ethereal vocals.
I love the ethereal vocals and how it showcases them.
We both used the word ethereal here.
Look at us, word a day. Very atmospheric start with the thunder rumbling, which I really like. It brings you in and goes, right, this is what we're going to take you on a journey.
Okay, I wouldn't have quite gone that far. No. I wouldn't have gone that. I got the atmosphere, but I never felt journey. And that's partially because we then transitioned into main blot. And this is something quite different indeed. Imagine going into this album blind, right? You've never even heard about this artist, band, whatever, and just someone played you the first 2 tracks. Yeah. You have the title track and you have this blistering blast of black metal. You wouldn't have a clue what you're really listening to. It's frantic and intense with layers of haunting ambience, folkish melodies, and clean singing. I am going to say it now that this might be the best track in the album. It's brilliant. Yeah.
I put Banshee start to this one. Frenzied drum and guitars. Love it when it slows and the more traditional instruments come in. It's like, oh yeah, it's throw it all in there. I love it. Love it all. Yeah.
I like the opening title track was fine, and I get it as an intro. This was what really took hold for me, and I was like, right, let's do this. The Serpent, extremely moody. The chunky guitars and powerful vocals are a major part of this one's strength. A tense experience. I found I was on edge, waiting for it to break out of cover and go wild. But instead it drops into nothing but piano melody, which I thought was very cool. Because it kind of kept me going, right, come on. Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, if this kind of...
didn't feel disappointed by that you know?
And it feels like this project feels like you just doing what you want to do. Like you haven't got the right structure to what people would feel like. You kind of go, well, okay, I want an intense song. And then this is how I'm going to end it.
Yeah.
I love how deep this one sounds. Track pulls you in like you're going underwater. It builds really well, and I like the intensity.
It's a good track. It is a good track. Crown, uber airy, and the atmosphere is thick in this one. And the vocals are back. That ethereal style of vocals return for an effective experience here. Goes on a tad too long, personally, but I'm still impressed by it.
Follows on nicely from the previous track. Really nice instrumental use, and I like the high vocals in contrast to the deeper verses. Yeah, like that light and dark.
I'm still on board basically. Okay, oh god. Ellis Kudit. The drawling melody, salacious, love that word, black metal and intense vocal highs makes this one of my favourite on the album. I do find I prefer the tracks that push the darker side of the music to the forefront now. And this is one of the album's darkest sounding tracks, so it's kind of worked nicely for me.
I put a bit more energetic start to this one. Again, I do appreciate the sort of the black metal parts of it.
It's what was selling me on it.
Yeah, because when I suggested it, I was like, because I was listening to the album before, and I was like, I think you'd appreciate it. So. If
it was like 75, 80% singer-songwriter, folkish melodies and haunting atmosphere, I probably wouldn't come away too impressed. And like the other 20% was black metal stuff. But it seems to have a nice balance.
Yeah.
Of both. The Trey Piker. Simple enough. The otherworldly sense and folkish melody is impressive.
I like this one and its very traditional sounds, nice structure and its simplicity.
Okay. Yeah, it is very straightforward. A Funeral, which features Chelsea Wolfe on guest vocals. Wolfe really helps change up the tone of this album here as we get duets layered over really robust heaviness and deep ambience. Guys, if you're going to have someone guest on vocals, this is how you do it. Yeah. They're a prominent, important part of this track that makes it obviously different. This one pulls you into the mire and leaves you wallowing in dark depths. I like it.
Really enjoyed this one and the two different vocals. It's a nice contrast. I really like the atmosphere this album's building. It's like when you say otherworldly, it does feel otherworldly. It's not,
it does.
It's not. You're not basing anything that feels structured in that sense. It's like A to B. That's
I get the sense of Danish history, folklore coming strongly through this album.
Yeah.
Olvindi. This is quite something. At first it sounded a little bit standard, but considering the high quality of the release overall, that's not actually much of a knock. However, as it grew, I fell in love with the harmonisation, the screaming vocals, and the overall, a rousing call to arms feel that this track gave me. Loved it.
This song has it all. Harsh vocals, faster parts, and in the slower parts, it all works really well for me.
Yeah, it's a banger.
It's a really good track, yeah.
Yes, indeed. All right, Gladiatrix. A blend of haunting melody and chaotic noise. It is arguably the least impactful track in the album, but I still enjoy it, as with everything pretty much in this album. I was having a good time.
Yeah, the heavy parts are really subtle. Drums here, then we hint of more metallic vocals. Love how the end of the track fades as well. Kind of like taken out of it. Yeah.
Continuing to challenge my pronunciations. Kayetarian. Maybe? Yeah, massive sounding folk melodies. This is a really lovely penultimate track.
Feels very traditional and folky, this one. No vocals, almost like a final track. That's what it felt like.
I thought its position was actually quite good as penultimate. I wouldn't have wanted this to be the finale. So I'm actually quite pleased where it is placed. It kind of like, take a breath. We got one more coming for you, which is Bornheim. Not quite the ending I expected though. Odd and a little frightening. The voice effects are disconcerting and the choral vocals are haunting. I don't quite get it as an ending though, especially when you consider what came before. So when I was doing this, and obviously we did Ketamine, and I was kind of like, okay, the last track's going to be big, it's going to be heavy, it's going to be a big thing. That's not what we got.
No.
I'm not sure I'm too happy with that. And
it's sung in English. I preferred maybe like native Danish.
Maybe. I mean, maybe. I'm not worried too much about that. Depending, I think that often fits the track, depending upon what the artist wants more than anything else. I just wanted something a bit that I could sink my teeth into.
Yeah.
As a finale.
I didn't like the creepy demon voices. It sounded like a kid, and it really took me out of it. Didn't like it. If it was a demon, an older voice, but it was like Oompa Loompas almost. Like with a demon. I didn't like it. Really, I was like, oh no.
It wasn't quite like that, but yeah, I get your thinking.
It sounded silly to me. I did like the monk like chanting in the background. That's what I really took from that. But they were never. I was like, no, too squeaky, too high. I don't like that. So yeah, a little bit disappointed at the end.
Yeah, just disappointing with the ending, but it's not. It doesn't, to me, affect the overall quality of this album. I think predominantly this is easily an 8.5 out of 10. It's a very strong album with some genuinely brilliant pieces of music on it. Speaking of which,
top 3.
Top 3. Okay, main block. Ellis could.
Yep.
I kind of just dropped that off there. I tried to do it so well, I just dropped it off. And Olvindi. They are my top 3, which weirdly enough are 3 of the heavier tracks on it.
I put Moneyblot, The Serpent, and Funeral.
Okay. Wow. All right. Myrkur Mareridt. You got any thoughts? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?